From a very young age, white girls were given ownership of black slaves. However, their white fathers did not know that once these girls became adults, they would use the black male slaves in the most nasty ways possible. Because the entire family of the slave master owned slaves, no one paid special attention to what each family member was doing with their slaves. However, in the hidden secret rooms of the white adult girls, something filthy was always going on. White adult girls knew they were unmarried, yet they had desires. Because the white adult boys did not pay any attention to them, they had thought of a different yet embarrassing solution. That was to use the black male slaves for their pleasure. You would be shocked if you knew the complete account of what these newly matured white girls used to do. So what filthy things did white adult girls used to do with their black male slaves? Let's know about that in this video.
The Black History Archives.
In their reasoning and mindset, the white adult girls, influenced by societal norms and attitudes regarding race and gender, saw their black male slaves as inferior and submissive. And this presented an opportunity for them to use because white adult girls had never seen submissive men who would submit to their demands. They justified their desire for sexual relationships with these slaves by dehumanizing them, regarding them as mere property for their own pleasure, as reported by a research article titled "The Sexual Abuse of Black Men Under American Slavery." To validate their actions, the white adult girls constructed narratives of kindness, convincing themselves they were providing care or pleasure to their enslaved individuals. They believed their actions were harmless, assuming their slaves couldn't feel emotions or desires similar to their own. What's more, the white adult girls considered continuous sexual encounters with the black male slaves as harmless for themselves until they were married. It's because virginity and chastity, especially of women, were of great importance back in the slavery period. White men expected their newly wedded wives to be virgins. However, white adult girls were not mature enough to think about the future. They had become adults just now. In communicating their intentions to the black male slaves, coercion and manipulation likely played a pivotal role. The white adult girls, wielding authority and power as owners, would pressure the slaves into compliance. They used tactics like offering rewards, issuing threats of punishment, or resorting to psychological manipulation to ensure obedience. Given the power dynamics inherent in the master-slave relationship, any semblance of consent from the enslaved individuals would have been extracted under duress rather than genuine choice. Black male slaves had little capacity to refuse or resist their owners' advances, making any perceived consent inherently unequal and invalid. One driving force behind white adult girls' choice to engage sexually with their black male slaves was the desire to assert their dominance and control within their social circles. In a society where one's status and influence were often measured by the extent of their dominance, particularly over those of a different race, white adult girls sought to exhibit their mastery over their black male slaves. By involving in sexual relationships with them, white adult girls sought to cement their authority and reaffirm their position of superiority among their peers. Moreover, a pervasive stereotype prevailed at the time, portraying black male slaves as inherently savage and hypersexual beings, perpetuated by the dehumanizing narrative of slave-breeding practices. This racialized stereotype, deeply rooted in racist ideologies, reinforced the belief that black men possessed natural inclinations toward sexual prowess and aggression. Therefore, in order to show that they could control even the sexual powers of the black male slaves, white adult girls would engage in sexual encounters. They believed they could derive complete satisfaction from sexual encounters with their black male slaves due to their perceived animalistic nature. By doing so, most white adult girls showed off their capacity to be sexually satisfied by black male slaves without any pain. They wanted to show that black women slaves in the slave-breeding farms were not the only ones who could endure the sexual powers of black male slaves. White adult girls wanted to show that they could also do the same. Here's a reminder to please support us so we can make more videos for you by subscribing to our channel and giving the video a like. We want to build a strong community, and we need your support. Let's continue now. Beyond the quest for dominance, there was a desire for validation and empowerment in their actions. In a society where a woman's worth often hinged on her ability to attract and satisfy men, engaging in sexual relationships with their black male slaves provided white adult girls with a sense of empowerment and self-assurance. Records related to this can be found in books like White Over Black American Attitudes Toward the Negro from 1550 to 1812 and Roll, Jordan, Roll, The World the Slaves Made. What's more, white adult girls were deprived of attention and affection from white boys of their age. Therefore, a significant factor driving their decision to engage in sexual relationships with black male slaves was this. In a society where social status and relationships often revolved around one's ability to attract and engage with members of the opposite sex, these adult white girls felt overlooked and undervalued by their white male peers. Seeking validation and craving intimacy, they sought to fill this emotional void by establishing sexual relationships with their black male slaves. After getting sexually pleased, white adult girls would deliberately spread rumors of their sexual encounters with black male slaves among the white boys to heighten jealousy and rivalry among them. Detailed records of this can be found in books like Women, Race, and Class and American Slavery, American Freedom, The Ordeal of Colonial Virginia. In a culture where masculinity was often equated with ownership and control over women, these adult white girls strategically used their sexual interactions with black male slaves to assert their own power and desirability. By inciting envy and competition among the white boys, they aimed to reclaim a sense of agency and influence in a society that frequently marginalized them. However, one main factor cannot be ignored. White girls desired to have an intimate relationship where their partners would care for them. And no one was better than black male slaves for this purpose. White adult girls could get rid of their deprivations by expecting intimacy and sexual pleasures from black male slaves. These intimate relationships extended beyond the bedroom, as the black male slaves became integral parts of the white girls' daily lives. They helped with household chores, cooked meals, and provided companionship in ways that went beyond the expectations of traditional servitude. In the intimacy of their shared space, the white girls and their black male slaves formed bonds that transcended the boundaries of master and servant, fostering a sense of mutual dependence and trust. However, it's important to acknowledge the inherent power dynamics at play in these relationships. Despite any semblance of care or intimacy, the white girls maintained ultimate authority over their black male slaves, reinforcing systems of oppression and exploitation. The slaves' labor and obedience were coerced through the threat of punishment and violence, undermining the possibility of genuine consent or equality in the relationship. One thing today haunts white supremacists, and it's no surprise that most people don't know about them. It's sexual pleasure gained from black male slaves by white adult girls as tools to punish their white fathers. Motivated by feelings of resentment or anger towards their fathers, stemming from perceived neglect or mistreatment, the white girls engaged in brutal sexual encounters with the black male slaves. And the brutality lies in both ways. Black male slaves also faced brutality, but when the goal was to punish white fathers, white girls would force slaves to go hard on them. Subsequently, the white girls would later tell the details of these encounters to their fathers as a form of punishment. This act served to publicly shame and embarrass their fathers while asserting the girls' power and autonomy within the family dynamic. It's a distressing illustration of the power dynamics within the institution of slavery, where the exploitation and degradation of black individuals were wielded as tools of punishment and control within white households. This would create resentment for those black male slaves in white fathers, making them the target of sudden brutality and punishment for doing nothing. The hostility was because the white fathers knew these black male slaves had engaged sexually with their white daughters. However, it's the details of the filthy things that white adult girls did that make the sexual encounters terrible. White adult girls knew no one would ask them what they did with the black male slaves. Therefore, they used to discover new things to do with black male slaves sexually, finding new positions to try that they couldn't with their white husbands or white sexual partners. Harriet Jacobs, a slave who ran away, wrote in her book about white girls. She writes, "They know that the women slaves are subject to their father's authority in all things, and in some cases they exercise the same authority over the men slaves." White adult girls knew that they could try literally every nasty thing with black male slaves, asking them to do everything for them. They were not satisfied with ordinary sexual encounters and wanted to take full pleasure, which often resulted in masochism, which is the sexual gratification from one's own pain or humiliation. What's more, white girls would engage in kinky and fetish activities, including sadomasochism, where they would derive pleasure from inflicting or receiving pain. Isn't it true that the modern-day relationships between black men and white women have roots back in slavery? Do you believe that white adult girls would have done some of the nastiest things that we don't know about? In the comment section right below, share what you know about how white adult girls used black male slaves sexually. Would you like us to make more videos? If yes, please support us by subscribing to the Black History Archives and clicking the bell icon. You can check out more videos on our channel too.